Good morning, good afternoon, good day. Whatever time of day it is that you are listening to this or watching this, I hope it is finding you well. So today we get to talk about angiosperms, our last phylum of plants. Now, we know a little bit about angiosperms in terms of, like the pteridophytes and the gymnosperms, the dominant generation for angiosperms is the sporophyte generation. And we know from our cladogram on Monday that the distinguishing characteristic of angiosperms is that they are flowering plants. Now, one thing that they have in common, not the only thing, but one thing they have in common with gymnosperms is that they also produce seeds. But the difference here is that the seeds are not naked. Now, remember we said that seeds are the embryo, some nutrient surrounded by a protective coat, a seed coat. So in that way, their seeds are the same as gymnosperms, but theirs are not naked. Angiosperm seeds develop within the ovary, which is the fruit. So anytime you're eating something that has seeds in it, that's technically a fruit, scientifically speaking. So tomatoes are fruit, peppers are fruit, cucumbers are fruit, because they have the seeds on the inside. If you watch the video, Hank's video about the bees and flowering plants and their reproduction, he talks a little bit about some of the strange ones like strawberries, where the seeds are on the outside. What's up with that? Um, so I'll leave that for him. Angiosperms have specialized reproductive structures called flowers. Hank mentioned on Tuesday that when you're looking at flowers, you're looking at the sporophyte of that plant. Well, actually, the whole plant is the sporophyte, and the gametophytes develop in the flowers. The male reproductive structure of a flower is the stamen with an anther at the tip. The anther produces the male gametophyte, and the male gametophyte is the pollen grains. Now remember, gametophytes make gametes, so since this is the male gametophyte, these are going to make sperm. So within the pollen grains, there are two sperm. And those two sperm are going to be very important to us a little bit later when we talk about how these flowers reproduce, how these flowering plants reproduce. And there is a diagram down below. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll take a look at these. Plants that have stamen usually have several stamen, not just one. And if you think of like lilies, lilies are a great example of this. They have lots of stamen, and at the ends of the stamen are the anthers, and the anthers have lots of little yellow things on them, and those little yellow things are pollen grains, and those pollen grains each contain two sperm. The female reproductive structure is the carpel. And flowers tend to only have one of these. It will be in the center of the flower. At the base of the carpel is the ovary. The female gametophyte develops in the ovary in an ovule. And within the ovule, one egg is made. So we need to get the sperm and egg together. The process of sexual reproduction in angiosperms is called double fertilization. So, as we said, in the pollen grain, there are two sperms per grain. And so each one of these sperm is going to fuse with a different part of the female reproductive system. One sperm will fuse with the egg, so normal fertilization, to produce a diploid zygote. And then that diploid zygote will develop within the ovary. The other sperm fuses with the female gametophyte to produce the endosperm. And this endosperm is the nourishment for the developing embryo. Okay, so we've got two parts of our seed now. We've got the zygote, which is developing into the embryo. After it starts dividing, remember it's a single cell when fertilization first occurs, and then it starts undergoing mitosis and becomes multicellular, and then we call it an embryo. So we have the embryo, we have the nourishment, which is the endosperm. Now, the ovule that this is all happening in thickens to form a seed coat. So now we have all the components of our seed. We have a seed now. Now we need that protective covering of that, which is the ovary. So the ovary wall thickens, forming a fruit. And the purpose of the fruit, it helps to protect the seeds within, but it also helps with dispersal because animals come along and eat the fruit. Seeds pass through their digestive system, presumably someplace far away from where this all started. And so it helps with the dispersal of seeds as well. So here is this diagram that I was talking about. If we take a look over here on the left-hand side, we've got the stamen. So with the anther at the tip, that's where the pollen is produced, and the pollen once again contain 2 sperm, each one. And then we have the carpel, which is here in the center. Now if we take a look over here on the right-hand side, we can see the reproductive process. So this is self-pollinating. It's releasing its pollen, and the pollen goes into the carpel, down this pollen tube. It's hollow on the center, down this pollen tube to the egg, where it fertilizes the egg. And so when it fertilizes the egg, we get a zygote. That's what this is showing. And then once that zygote undergoes mitosis and gets bigger, that's when we get the embryo. And this is the sporophyte that will eventually grow into a new plant. All right, so if you have any questions about this or anything regarding the test on Monday, please send me an email. Let me know. Have a great day.